Hey, welcome to my very first Ask the Coach live Q&A. And what do you know? I'm actually doing a live that's not being filmed from behind the wheel of my car. Anyway, if any of you saw my post yesterday announcing this live, I'm starting, welcome to the inaugural, Ask the Coach live Q&A. You know, I've been in this racket now. I've been a professional coach and a business consultant now. This is 19 years. I actually started in 2006. I was first certified as a life success consultant with Bob Proctor, and then I got certified under the John Maxwell Leadership Company as a Maxwell Leadership executive leadership coach and consultant. Anyway, I've been doing this racket a long time. And the number one question that people ask me consistently over the last 19 years, the number one question that people ask me all the time, you know, they'll phone or they'll email or they'll text and they'll say something along the line of, hey, can I pick your brain? Or can I just ask you a couple of questions? Or can I run an idea past you? And sometimes I think, yeah, sure, go ahead, pick away. I'm not sure there's much left up there anymore to pick. It just kind of seems like mush sometimes. But go ahead, pick my brain. What do you want? And at the top of the list, the number one question I always get asked the most is this. I'm thinking of going into business. I want to do this. What do you think? I want to address that today because it's a very, very important subject to talk about. It's a very popular question, like I said. And if you caught a live that I posted about 3 weeks ago, I kind of had a little bit of a rant, again, from behind the wheel of my car after coming out of a lunch event. And I was kind of ranting about how you shouldn't get upset or be angry or be frustrated if you go into business and people aren't knocking on your door, pounding down your door to do business with you, and you're not as successful as you want to be or should be or maybe even need to be at the stage that you're in. If you haven't answered some key questions that you really should answer before you get into business. And I'll be honest with you, you'll be way further down the road if you get these questions answered well and get them answered correctly before you get into business. But if you haven't and you didn't know to ask these questions before you get into business and you're struggling, take some time. Maybe this is the perfect time of year. You know, we're kind of moving into the Christmas season. And a lot of people don't know what they should do between Christmas and New Year. Should they work or should they take the time off? You know, they're never here nor there. Maybe the perfect time for you to stop and answer these questions for yourself so that you can set yourself up for a lot better 2006 than what you may have had in 2005 or 2004 or 2003 or what have you. Anyway, I'm going to just take a caveat out here. I'll pause for a second because my mind is kind of going, you know me. This Ask the Coach Live is something that I intend to carry on every single week. And if you have questions that you would love to ask me, just post your questions in the Facebook group, make a post and just stick it in there and say, hey, here's some questions that I want answered or addressed in the next live Q&A. Or put those questions in the comments of this live. I'll see them, I'll make note of them, I'll address them next week. Or, send me a text or send me a DM or whatever you want to do. Reach out to me, get your questions into me, and I'll address them on the Wednesday Ask the Coach Live Q&A. That's what this is for. But since this is our very first one, nobody's got their questions in because I didn't give you a lot of time and I didn't do a lot of advertising for it. I'm going to take the liberty to answer some questions that people ask me all the time. So let's get back into it. So the number one question I get is, hey, Al, I want to get into business and I want to kind of do this thing. I want to launch this business. I want to do this thing. What do you think I should do? What do you think of the idea? And I always say, it doesn't matter what I think. Who cares what I think? And who cares what you think? Who cares what you think? And I'm going to be real crass here for a second. It's kind of like, nobody gives a rat's ass what you think. It's not about the entrepreneur. It's not about the business owner. It's not about what you want. It's about what the marketplace wants and what the marketplace needs. So here's how I answer this question. Take some notes if you want. And I say the number one question to ask yourself is this: is there a need and or a want in the marketplace for what you intend to offer or for what you intend to sell? Let me say that again. Is there a need and or a want in the marketplace for what you want to serve or what you want to sell or what you want to promote? See, now number one, you've got to know, is there a need in the marketplace? Now, I'm going to give you an example. I had a guy take me for coffee last year sometime, and he asked the same question. Hey, I want to do this. He was a welder. He's sick and tired of burning rod for his employer and, padding the employer's pocket and making the employer rich. He says, I want to leave the employment and I want to be the employer and I want to start up my own welding company. What do you think? And I said, is there a need in the marketplace for another welding company? And he looked at me and he was shocked. I don't know. Well, you should know. You got to know. Now, number one, is there a need in the marketplace for whatever it is you want to do? For this guy, is there a need in the marketplace for another welding company? Well, you've got to know what the boundaries are of the marketplace in which you want to serve. Let's go back to the original question that I posed. Is there a need and or a want in the marketplace for which you want to serve? So you've got to know what your marketplace is. And so I asked the guy, I said, well, what's the marketplace in which you want to serve? Is it the city inside this city that we live? Or do you want to serve a larger area outside the city into the county? Or do you want to even extend your service range outside of that? I mean, we live in oil and gas country up here in northern Alberta. We live in a place called, the Peace region. Do you want to expand your services into the entirety of the Peace region? So what's the boundary of the service area that you want to serve? And he didn't know. And I said, well, hey, you got to know what your boundary is. And then you should look at, well, who are your competitors inside of that area? Who are they? How many competitors are there? He couldn't answer the question. Most people can't. How many competitors do you have? What's the business model of each and every one of those competitors? How long have they in business? What are they known for? What are they not known for? What's their unique selling proposition? And what would be your unique selling proposition that would set you apart, that would make you uniquely different than every one of those other competitors in the marketplace that you want to serve? And here's a little caveat about USP. The USP is not the USP that you think is important. Again, it's not about you. It's not about the entrepreneur. It's not about the business owner. Who cares about you? It's about them, the people you're going to serve. So what's the USP that would be important to them, that would make you different and unique in their eyes, that would make them want to come and do business with you instead of the people or the company that they're already doing business with? You've got to find out the answer to those questions. I had a client a number of years ago, and this client did 3D imaging for, I don't know, whatever you call it. When you're pregnant, you're going to have a baby, and you get those black and white photos taken, and you can see the baby in the mom's womb, and they're usually pretty crappy looking pictures, and it's just black and white, and they're kind of flat. And sometimes, if you're like me, like the average dude, you're kind of going, that's a baby. I can't really see the form, but yeah, you kind of make it out. Anyway, so she did this imaging, and she got this brilliant idea that she wanted to invest a whole pile of money, and I'm talking tens of thousands. In my mind, I think it was $60,000-$70,000. She wanted to invest in this brand new technology, this brand new machine that would take a 4D image. I didn't know that was such a thing. A 4D image and in color of the baby in the womb. And she said, this is what's going to set me apart. Everybody's going to want to do business with me instead of all of those other people, because I'm going to have 4D color imaging. What do you think? And I said, well, is that important to your clientele? Is that what they want? Is that what they're asking for? Did they have this need for an extra D in color? And she says, well, I don't know. I think it's pretty great. Oh, I can't wait to get it. I want to buy the machine. And my mom already told me that she'd lend me the money. And I said, okay, so you're going to go into debt for $70,000 to get a machine to do this fancy schmancy thing that you don't know if the client's even going to want it, if they even care. And if so, are they going to be willing to pay more for it, you better get out there and do some market research and ask your clients. So away she went. Good thing she was a good client. And she asked the clientele. And the clientele, they didn't give her rat's ass. They're like, no, we don't care about that. Not going to definitely not going to pay more money. I don't care for an extra dimension, and I don't care for color. Saved herself $60,000-$70,000 a day to do that. So let's go back to the question: is there a need and or a want in the marketplace for what you want to provide, what you want to sell? And not only do you need to know the boundaries of the marketplace in which you want to serve, you got to know how many competitors you have in that marketplace. Who are they? How long they've been in business? What is their business model? How do they function? What are they doing well? What are they doing right? Aren't they doing well? And what aren't they doing right? What is their USP and what is your USP? And how are those can be different in the eye of the marketplace that would be willing to open up their wallet and pay for your service, for your USP, rather than everybody else's? You've got to know the answer to those questions. Now, let's talk about something else that's very important. See, it's not just a matter of, is there a need in the marketplace for it? Because what do we know? Human beings rarely make buying decisions based on needs. Now, some people say, well, Al, of course people are going to spend money on their needs. They need the basic necessities of life. They need groceries and they need a food, roof over the head. That's not what I'm talking about. Here's an example. Let's just pretend let's look at an average young couple. They're just starting out, and they're recently married. They got little baby number one in the oven, coming along their way, and so they want to get out and buy a starter home of their own. They're going to raise their family. And so they look through I was going to say Yellow Pages, but gosh, that really dates me. Yellow Pages, we haven't had Yellow Pages in how many decades. But anyway, they go online, they search real estate agents in the city that they want to buy a house in, and they find one. And they get this real estate agent on the phone and they say, we want you to show us some starter houses. We're just newly married. We got little baby number one in the oven. We want to buy a home. We want to start to build our family. And so this is how much money we have as a down payment. And we're not willing to go get a mortgage more than this amount, and we're not willing to take a mortgage more than this time period, and so we only need a house this size. So we just want, we want a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. That's all we need. We need a room for us, and we need a room for the, for the crib, so that we can have a baby's room. We need a bathroom, kind of just the basics. And so the real estate agent takes them out and shows them houses to what they need. We need a basic house. We just need a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. Let's get started. And so the real estate agent shows them a number of houses that fit the need that they're looking for. But if that real estate agent is a good real estate agent, is really a professional at what they do, that real estate agent is going to show them a bigger house. Maybe she's going to show them a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. And all of a sudden they walk in and they go, oh, this is nice. And she says, oh, honey, wouldn't it be so great to have an extra bedroom? Because then mom could come and visit and help look after the baby. And we wouldn't have to, put her in the basement or have a cot, or at least we'd have a place for her to stay. And with a second bedroom, with a second bathroom, we wouldn't have to share ours. And that would be so much better. And so the real estate agent shows them a few houses like that, and they fall in love with those ones. But then, because the real estate agent is a good real estate agent, she shows them a couple of bigger houses, some houses that have, a fully developed basement, maybe a fenced yard, a garage, and the dude's going, oh man, this house has a garage. I could park the car in there, and I wouldn't have to plug it in the wintertime, or at least I could have my workbench in there. Or look at the basement is fully developed. Oh, the kid has already a place to run around and play, and the yard is fenced, and we won't have to worry about, more often than not, which house does this young couple buy? The house they need or the house they want? Oftentimes, they'll begin to do some things that they were not willing to do before to buy what they want rather than what they need. They'll go back to their relatives, their mom and dad or aunts and uncles or whatever, and they'll borrow some more money from families or friends or whatever they can get to get a bigger down payment. They'll go back to the bank with that bigger down payment, and they'll negotiate a bigger mortgage over a longer term and pay more interest to get a bigger house, a nicer house to start with, not the house that they need, but the house that they want. We do that all the time. We buying decisions emotionally, not logically. We'll buy it based on emotion, and then we'll use logic to rationalize it and reason it. So let's go back to the question. Is there a need and or a want in the marketplace for what you want to provide? And so you've got to know, is that a yes or a no? So is there a need in the marketplace for what you want to do, for the business you want to open, for the product or service you want to provide to the marketplace? It's either a yes or a no. And you've got to know how much. If you say, yes, Al, I've done the market research, and I know that there is a need in the marketplace, I say, great. So what's the need, why the need, and how big is the need? You got to give me a number, and not just an anecdotal number. Mama's going to tell you, go for it, we love you, your friends are going to tell you. Anecdotal information is not good information. That doesn't tell you anything. So what are the real numbers? Is there a need in the marketplace for what you want to provide? Yes or no? And if there is, you better know how big that need is. And now if the answer is no, it's not a very big need, or there's no need at all, that's okay, because what did we just talk about? People buy based on emotion. They buy what they want more often than what they need. So if there's no need in the marketplace for what you want, is there a big enough want for it? So I think of maybe coffee shop. There's tons of coffee shops. Man, there's coffee shops everywhere. There's vape shops, and there's cannabis shops, and there's liquor stores everywhere. My good Lord. I want to open up another coffee shop. Well, is there a need? Is there a need in the marketplace for another coffee shop? I doubt it. Is there a need for another cannabis store? I doubt it. Is there a need for another? Well, I doubt it. I highly doubt it. But is there a want for it? And then you should be able to answer that question as well. Is there a need in the marketplace for what you want to provide? Yes or no? If it's no problem, good. At least we know that. And then don't open up the company, don't open up the business, because then you're in deep weeds, right? But if the answer is yes, there is a want for it. How much of a want is there for it? You got to know that number. You've got to know that number. And you say, well, Al, how do I know that number? You know that number by going out to the marketplace and actually asking people. Ask people, everybody you run into. You're standing in line at the grocery store. You're standing in line at the post office. Is there even a post office anymore? You're standing in line at the bank. You're standing in line wherever. You run into people. Start asking questions. Find out who is your ideal target audience. Who is your client, your perfect client. Go find them. Ask them. You got to find out from the right people. Don't find out anecdotal information from the wrong people. Now here's what can happen sometimes. People say, well, I found out, I had this happen one time. A client, she says, I took her through these questions, and she came back, she goes, no, there's really not a need in the marketplace for what I want. And there's not really a want in the marketplace for what I want. Well, now what do? She is so passionate about providing this service, to becoming an entrepreneur and providing this, I can't remember if it was a product or a service, but this is my purpose, Al. This is what fires me up. This is what I'm passionate about. This is my calling. I want to step into it. But all the homework that I've done, that you've walked me through, comes up with there's no need and there's no want in the marketplace for it, at least not substantial enough to make a go of it. Now what am I supposed to do? This is what I'm called to do. I said, well, go look for another marketplace. And then there's not just one marketplace, right? Go look for another marketplace. Is there a bigger marketplace that needs it or wants it down the road, at the next town, or at the next city, or in the next province over, the next state over, or on the other side of the planet somewhere? Like, I don't know. Is there a marketplace somewhere that actually has the need or the want for it, that's big enough to make a go of it? And so I sent her away. She did some homework. She came back. She goes, oh my gosh, what a great assignment. There actually is a marketplace over there. Way over there, there's a marketplace. And they have a need and a want for it. And the numbers just like, they would really, and I said, great, see ya. Oh, but I can't move. I don't want to go over there. My kids are here, and the grandkids are here, and I don't want to move away from them. You got a choice to make, man. But anyway, a little bit off topic. I'm kind of rambling a little bit. I get it. I know it. But anyway, I just want to leave this with you. If you are entrepreneurially bent and you want to move from being the employer to the entrepreneur, you want to move out of employment and you want to move into being the business owner and be the employer, or you're already there, but yet you're not quite as successful as you want to be, should be, probably even need to be by this stage, and you can't figure out why. You can't figure out why people aren't pounding on your door to come and do business with you. Just because you got a little shingle out there, just because you got a website out there, doesn't mean nothing. That doesn't mean anything. That's not good English. But anyway, you know what I mean. You've got to know the answers to these questions. Is there a need and or a want in the marketplace that I want to serve? for the product or service that I intend to provide? It's either a yes or it's a no. And if it's a yes, you better know with substantial numbers that you can show in black and white to substantiate the yes. How big is the need, or how big is the want? And if the need or the want isn't there, or it's not big enough, you're just going to be in deep weeds, and you're going to be like many people who start business and they get a year in and 2 years in. Sometimes, good Lord, I've worked with clients that have been 30, 35 years in, and they're still struggling, and the business owner hasn't been able to scale, and he's doing all the work himself, and you kind of get it. And I go back, did you ever ask these questions? Did you ever go to the marketplace and ask these questions? 99% of the time, they just look at me like a cow looking at a freshly painted fence, and they go, no. And more often, I'm like, I didn't even know I should ask those questions, let alone get them answered. Well, get out there and answer those questions. Figure it out. And then you'll know. The marketplace will also tell you what to do to change the business plan and change the business model so that you can turn this thing around if you're already in it so far down the road. I had a client one time, and I'm going to finish up with this. I was hoping that maybe these calls wouldn't go past 20, but hey, since this is the inaugural one, the flagship live, let's just get in, and I want to give you one more example. I had a client a while ago that I worked with, and she opened up a consignment store, a secondhand consignment store, a different city than where I live. And she just had this desire. She just had this great desire. Oh, I want to open this consignment secondhand store, but I don't want it to be this kind of the low end thing. I want designer clothes in there. I want high end stuff. I don't want this to be a trashy store. I don't want just this to be like a whatever. I want this to be classy. I want this to be high end. You know, I want to be able to have anyway. You get it. And so she opens the store. She gets a beautiful storefront where she lives on a main street, high visibility. She gets a beautiful sign. You know, she's invested money in that kind of stuff. But then she's invested in, you know, the counter and the cash register and the clothes racks and the shelves and all the leasehold improvements that go into it. And she just spends a ton of money. And she opens the store. And it didn't take long. And she's struggling. You know, and the first year anniversary comes around and she's struggling, and I can't even remember if she lasted more than a year or 2 years. I just can't remember how many years in. I think she was more than a year in, but struggled pretty much out of the get-go. And I finally, you know, I got to work with her, and I said, did you ever find out beforehand if the marketplace had a need for what you want to provide, or has she even had a want for what you provide? She's like, no, just like what we're talking about. Go ask the marketplace. So I sent her off to go do some homework, ask these questions, get the answer to these questions. She comes back and she goes, oh my gosh, nobody wants it and nobody needs it. That explains why nobody's coming in here. Before she opened up that store, there used to be a Salvation Army or a something or other kind of like that in that place. And people would bring, you know what happens when you want to downsize, or you're moving, or you're going to swap out your wardrobe or whatever. You know, people have something they need a place to donate it because they feel guilty for throwing in a dump. So they go to the second-hand store like the Salvation Army or the Mission Thrift Store or the Goodwill or whatever, and they dump all their used clothes there and their used shoes there and their used household items there and their used whatever there, and it just, whew, now I can just dump it off. Somebody else will buy it at some great discount. I'm doing a great thing for society. And that place in that location closed up, and so now they were looking for the replacement of that, and so they came to her consignment store, and everybody just wanted to dump their trash and their low-end stuff and their, you know, whatever, the stuff that you're going to get at Goodwill. And she goes, but this isn't my business model. This isn't who I want to be. I want to have good product, quality product, high-end product, designer names, clean stuff, good stuff. Nobody wanted that. They just wanted a place to replace the Salvation Army or the Goodwill. And she goes, oh my gosh, I would have saved myself so much time, so much effort, and so much money had I known that before. I would have never started business. Ta-da! Lesson learned. So here's the lesson for today. Again, is there a need and or a want in the marketplace for which you want to provide your product or service? It's either a yes or a no. And if it's a yes, you better have concrete evidence from the ideal client that you want to serve with some numbers on it that says, here I can prove with evidence how much of a need or how much of a want there is for what I want to provide. Also, like I said, Who are your competitors inside of the boundaries of that marketplace? What's their business model? What's your business model going to be? Which business model are you going to select for yourself? What kind of a culture are you going to create? What's your USP, and how is all of that different than anybody else's in a way that is important to the marketplace, which will drive them to your door rather than to somebody else's door? You've got to know the answers to those questions. I'm going to leave it there for today. We're going to call it good. Anyway, moving forward, you have a question that you'd like me to tackle for you, make a post of it, on my Facebook page or here in the group. Write it in the comments. Send me a DM, whatever you want. Just find some way to get to me. Submit your questions. We'll tackle it next Wednesday on another Ask the Coach Live Q&A right here inside this community. Have yourself a great Wednesday, friends. Cheers.